Okay, we're in SHA'AR HAGILGULIM, SHA'AR number 2, and I like the way you named it on the SHA'AR HAGILGULIM, not Gates of Reincarnation. That way only people who are looking for the Ari's work will search for it. Good job. So last week we ended up with the 3 options of Rav Chaim Vital. He says, how do you fix the nefesh? The nefesh is unique in that you have to fix it very well. So, as we explained, let's say you're from the sphere of Malchut. So that means you have to fix the Malchut. This was the last option that we ended with. Every world of Asilut, Beriah, Yitzir, Asiya, has its own Nar Nechi. Right? There's Nar Nechi of Atilut, Nar Nechi the Beriah, Nar Nechi the Yitzira, Nar Nechi the Asiya. Right? Nar Nechi is Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama, Chaya, Yichida. You know this already. And each one of that Nar Nechi, you have to fix your Shorosh Neshama. So let's say Nefesh of Asiya. Nefesh of Asiya, you got to fix your Sphira. Let's say your Malchut.
But we don't know. So
we don't know. Let's say, but you have to fix your Sphira, right? So let's say your Malchut. You got to fix the Malchut of all the pieces of Asiya. Malchut of the Nefesh of Asiya. Malchut of the Ruach of Asiya. Malchut of the Neshama of Asiya. Malchut of the Chaya and Yechida of Asiya. Okay? That's where we ended off last week. That's a special thing in the world of Asiya, since it's so, we're going to learn today, since it's so close to the Klippa, Asiya is so close to the Klippa, as we see we're in this world, it has a danger in it, we're going to learn, that in Asiya, it's not enough to fix your Sphira. You have to take your Sphira, your Shoresh, your root, whatever Sphira you are, from Keter till Malchut, and you have to bring it to the Keter of that world. So let's say I'm born right now, and I'm Nefesh da Asiya, right? Nefesh the Nefesh. And I'm Sfirat Malchut. I fixed my Malchut. I have to take my Malchut now and bring it up to Keter of Nefesh of Asiya. Then I'm going to get to the Ruach of Asiya, right? Ruach the Nefesh. I got to take my Sfira and bring it up to the Keter of that world. Neshama, my Malchut, bring it up to the Keter. Chaya to the Keter, Yechida to the Keter. So what does that mean? That the world of Asiya, I'm basically not just fixing myself, I'm fixing the whole thing. Because Keter is basically what? The highest point. To get to Keter, I have to pass through Hod, Netzach, Yesod, Chesed, Gvura, Tiferet. I gotta pass. It means somebody's Chesed, and I'm Malchut. Why should I care about him? But the fact that I'm in Asiya, which is the Nefesh, and since it's so close to the Klippa, I have to make sure that when I get already to the Ruach, the main Ruach, Yitzira, I'm so fixed that once I hit Ruach, it's going to be straight sailing. So every person that's born, or he reached Ruach, has a much faster time to reach his higher levels of his Neshama. The hardest part to fix is always the Nefesh. Always. The Nefesh is the Behemah inside of you. It's the Behemah inside of you. It's your desire to receive. Okay, so let's read that inside. Now we have to learn Chiluk Echad Sheyesh, a one difference that there is, Benefesh Shel Asiya, between the Nefesh of Asiya, SHA'AR HaChalakim Shemina Yitzira, HaBeriah, VaHa'atzilut. Rav Chaim Vital is saying there is a difference between Asiya, the Nefesh, and the Ruach, Neshama, Chaya, Yechida. There's a big difference between them. What? Ubazei Yitbaer, and with this we will learn, Gam Ken Teima Gedola, a very big question. Ech Efshar, how is it possible, Shemi Sheshorsho B'Malchut Asiya, who has his root, his Neshama, is, let's say, in the Malchut. Your Sphira is Malchut, right? Yechol la'alot ad Keter Asiya. How could you jump all the way to Keter? How is that possible? Remember I told you in Asiya you have to fix all the way to Keter?
Right.
How do you jump like that? If you start at the bottom, how do you get to the top? You really have to change your Shorosh Neshama. And the question is, says the Bnei Aaron, if everyone gets to Keter, what does that basically mean? That we're all the same thing. But we're not. You're different, I'm different, everyone has different tikkun.
Yeah.
So, but we all have to reach Keter, that means there is no difference between us. So how's that possible? We all have to get to the same place. There has to be some difference between us. Even when we all get to Keter, we still have to be uniquely different. Okay? No two people are the same. Even twins are not the same. There are no two nishamot that are the same, that are identical. Right? She'im ken, nimtza, it's found, שכיוון שכל בני ישראל מוכרחים להתגלגל עד שישלמו בכל הנער נכי, it's a fact, Gabriel, that everybody has to come back in a reincarnation until he fixes all of his nar nechi. It's a fact. That means you're going to keep on coming until you finish all 5 pieces. All 5.
We're already in the end of times. We have no time.
Well, we're going to get there when we get there. Who are we already? We're going to get there. But all this SHA'AR Gilgulim, the beginning at least, is talking about a person who's first time in this world. Right? Reb Chaim Vital, this book was written, Reb Chaim Vital, it was his personal notebook. This was his personal notebook. So he was his first time in this world. As a man, it was his first time. It was a new nitzotz. Some people think they heard some shi'ur from some guy who thinks he learned Torah Hasod. Of course, he just learned one sentence in some place, that after the second Beit HaMikdash, there's no new souls. Right? It's not true. After the Beit HaMikdash was destroyed, SHA'AR Gilgulim explains there are no new souls from Atzilut. But there are new souls from Beriah, Yetzirah, and Asiyah. Okay? And those souls are much higher. Right? There could be a new nitzot. It's a possible thing. And the Ari will explain how could you tell if you're new or not. You understand? Well, that's already in Hagdama Yud Aleph, in the 11th chapter. So we get there.
You find your zivuk easy, everything is easy. First time.
First time, everything is easy. Exactly. Or finding your zivuk is also easy if you don't have any kiturgim. That's in Hagdama Chaf, in the 20th chapter.
First Gilgul, you don't have any kiturgim. No?
Exactly, you don't have any kiturgim. You could also say crazily, back in the day too, the parents used to get kids married. Right? Chik-chak, they used to get married. No questions, this, that. It must be a lot of people back then, especially in the Sephardic world, must have been new nitzotzot. Must have been. A lot of places in the world wasn't like that. Right? It wasn't like that. When did it all change? With the rise of democracy and liberal rights and stuff like that. That's when it all changed. About 300-400 years ago. In Europe. Esau. That's where it all changed. Right now, for sure, it's not like that anymore. So that means we must all be pretty old mitzatzot. Now, some people have a harder time than others. It depends on his kitrugim. That's Hakdama Chaf. That's in the 20th chapter. Until we get over there, you know how much information we're going to have to know? You're going to be in quantum physics. Nimtza, we see. So, what do we end? Every Jew must fix all of his nar nechi. Must. That's very high level. That's why there's an Olam Haba. Because only in Olam Haba could you fix the Yechidah. The Keter, Yechidah, is Ak. Right? We always talk about Atzilut, Beriah, Yetzirah, Asiyah. That's only 4. What are the 5th one? That's Ak already. Nobody has ever fixed that. It's impossible in this world. You need to be in the level that Adam was before he sinned from the Etz Hadat to fix the Keter. The main Keter, the Yechidah, the singularity. That's Mashiach's job, by the way, to help us, whoever's going to be alive at that time, to reach that level. He's supposed to get us through that bridge. נמצא שמוכרח הוא שכולם יתעלו בכתר דעשייה או בכתר דיצירה או בכתר דבריאה. So according to what we were saying before, if I have to fix everything, right? So that means I have to reach up until the Keter of Asiyah, the Keter of Yetzirah, the Keter of Bria. Why do I have to reach to the Keter? If I have to fix everything, then what does that mean? I have to reach the highest point in every part of my neshama. So what does that basically mean? V'kol sha'ar bichinot yu betelim. And my original sphere, I originally came from Malchut, it cancels out. What's left only? Everybody has to reach Keter. Only Keter is left. That means all of us, all of my original spherot are cancelled out. That's not right. אמנם זה לא יעלה על הדעת. This is impossible. כי פשוט הוא אצלנו כי יש מבני ישראל אנשים מבחינת מלכות ויש מין יסוד. It's a known thing, says the Zohar HaKadosh, that not everybody comes from Keter. That you come from Yesod, you come from Netzach, you come from Malchut. The Zohar says that. The second page of the Tikkunei Zohar, I'm going to read you the Zohar. The Zohar says like this: they eat Beirut, Aramaic. Rashi Alfei Yisrael mitzad Keter. There are leaders of Israel that come from Keter. The Chachamim, there are people that come from Chokhmah. Univonim min Bina, people who come from Bina. So we can't all get to Keter, correct? Just on what we just learned, look how much Rav Shimon Agassi writes. Rabbi Yehuda B'tai's Rebbe and friend. Look how much he writes, just on what we just said. This is just a commentary. Wait. 5 pages, just to explain that there's no contradiction from any other books of the Ari. He's the only commentary on SHA'AR HAGILGULIM, by the way. The only commentary. They said if he would have written a commentary on the whole Etz HaChaim, they would have left all the other commentaries and just learned his. He died a day before Tisha B'Av. On the 8th of Av, he died, and they took all the Jewish boys to the Ottoman army. Rabbi Yehuda B'tai says from that day that he died, that he passed away, we took up the Jewish people in Iraq. We just kept on going. First, the Ben Ish Chai passed away. It was catastrophe. Then he passed away, and everything went down. Then he said it was on my shoulders to carry it. And a big tzaddik he was. Amnam, bi'ur inyan zehu talui. To explain this, remember the question was, if we all get into Keter, what happens to all of our shorshei neshamot? There is a very big difference between Asiyah, then Yetzirah, Bria, and Atzilut. There's a very big difference between them. It's not the same thing. How? What's the difference? I'm going to explain to you. We're going to read it on the outside. באופן זה, כי בעניין העשייה לבדה הוא באופן זה, only in עשייה this works. What? כי מי ששורשו במלכות העשייה, whose root soul is in malchut of עשייה, let's say we're from malchut. פשוט הוא כי נפשו הוא במלכות העשייה בדווקא. It's obvious that you never change your root soul. If you're malchut, you're always going to stay malchut. אמנם, עם כל זה, על ידי תיקון מעשיו, by fixing your deed so strong. Let's say you're only obligated to learn one daf of Gemara a day, wear your tzitzit, do tzedakah, keep Shabbat, Yom Kippur, holidays, and that. This is your obligation in this world. But by working on yourself so much, you turn into such a chassid and tzaddik. Mizdachechet nafsho, your soul became like a crystal, clear, like beautiful. It shines. And you went madrega achar madrega, level after level. That means you were only supposed to fix the malchut. But you did so much work on yourself, you have a zechut, that you jumped from level to level. Yesod, to Hod, to Netzach, to Tiferet, Chesed, Gevurah. Ad shetit'aleh hi ba'atzma b'keter asiyah, until you reach the keter of asiyah. You did so much work, which you're supposed to do, we said. V'tuchlal v'tit'aleh ad sham mamash, and you became inside, you turned into the keter of asiyah. It means your malchut got sucked into the keter. What happens now? Do you cancel out or no? Now he explains. In kol zeh, even though you reached ad keter asiyah, you don't cancel out. Why? עדיין שם איננו רק בבחינת מלכות הכתר דעשייה. When you go inside the keter of asiyah, you only reach the malchut of the keter of asiyah. So if you're yesod, you will reach the yesod of the keter of asiyah. The hod, the different, wherever you're from. So you never cancel out. You're the bechina of the malchut of the keter of asiyah. So everybody still keeps his individuality. Ki ein shorsha b'malchut, because you're still malchut, so therefore you only become the malchut of the keter. Aval mukhrach hu shetzarich sheizdachek ad she'aleh al keter, but you must be so purified in the world of asiyah till you reach the keter. Af al pi she'adayin, even though still, einenu nikra ben malchut keter asiyah, even though you still could only reach the malchut of the keter of asiyah. Okay, let's explain it outside. So basically, what's the difference between the Asiyah and the Nefesh, which is Asiyah, and the Ruach Neshama Chayechida, which is Yetzirah, Beriah, Atzilut, and Ak? What's the difference? Only in Asiyah, when I reach the Keter, the highest point in Asiyah, which I have to reach that because we learned that in Asiyah there is a fear of the Klippa, and I have to go really high so it never gets me back. It doesn't suck me back. When I reach the Keter, I don't become Keter. I become Malchut of Keter. If I'm Yesod, I become Yesod of Keter. That means even though my Shoresh goes up, but it never loses its identity. But when I reach the Yetzirah and Beriah and Chaya, which is Ruach Neshama Chaya Yechidah, over there it works differently. Let's say I'm Malchut of Yetzirah, right? Let's say I'm Malchut Yetzirah. And I worked so hard until I went higher than Malchut of Yetzirah. In that case, when I fix my Malchut of Yetzirah, I leave the Malchut in its place, and then I could get a new soul. In Asiyah, I never change my identity. I just go up. So it's like Lahavdil. I was a lawyer of a law firm, a small law firm. Then I became a lawyer in some big place. In Yetzirah and Beriah, I was a lawyer, then I turned into a doctor. Or to something else. Lahavdil. You get what I'm saying? That means in Asiyah, all I did was, you know what I'm saying? I got a promotion. In Yetzirah and Beriah, I don't just get a promotion, I learn a new profession. That's the difference. And that it took 6 pages to explain. You understand? That's the difference. So that means when the person gets to Yetzirah and Beriah, you could change your Shoresh Neshama. It's crazy. That means what I just told you was a gigantic thing. Why is that important? The Ari explains at the end. Moshe Rabbeinu, when he saw Rabbi Akiva in the higher worlds, he saw him putting the keter of the Otiyot. Remember? He saw him putting the crowns of the thing, and he said to Hashem, give him the Torah. Why did he say that to Hashem? Rabbi Akiva, his soul was from Cain. We didn't even reach that yet. Cain, Hevel, this, that. Moshe was from heaven. Moshe was from heaven. Even though Hevel was a tzaddik and Cain was a rasha, but since Cain was the firstborn, he had a higher level soul. Since he was the firstborn, he had the ability to rise above his neshama 4 levels. There's only a certain amount where you could reach. Let's call them the letters. Lemashal, you have a letter, you have the crown on the letters, you have the nikuda of the letters, and you have the cantillation of the letters. Remember we learned Otzot Chaim, Ta'amim, Nikudot, Tagin, Otiyot. Whoever comes from Hevel could only reach the Tagin, the crowns of the letter. Whoever comes from Cain could reach even the Ta'amim of the letters, the highest level. So Moshe said he's such a high level, give him the Torah. Because Rabbi Akiva was so high, he changed his neshama 4 levels higher. Moshe said, I can't do that, I'm from heaven, I cannot do that, I can only go to the crown of the letters. You know what he says? Even at the end, Ari says, Moshe was such a tzaddik, Moshe Rabbeinu, even though he was from heaven, he was able to change his Shoresh Neshama, and he even reached eventually higher than Rabbi Akiva. Moshe was able to do that. That means once you pass the nefesh is the biggest hurdle. And you get to the ruach, even the lowest part of the ruach, you could change your neshama. But you have to accept upon yourself stringencies. You have to be more of a chassid, more of a tzaddik. And when the Bnei Aaron, I have his journal when he was a kid, a couple of pages, whatever's left over from it. When he was 15, 16 years old, he already took upon himself skumrot, for example. I will only eat meat on Shabbat. I'll only have candies, sweet things in Shabbat. I'll only go swimming once a week. You know, these things, it's mizachechet hanefesh. I'll wake up early for shacharit. For us, that's already a zichuch. For them, that was obviously. You know what I mean? I'm going to be more careful when it comes to monetary matters. I'm going to look to do more mitzvot. I'm going to learn an extra hour of Torah. All these things, mizachechet hanefesh. I'm going to get out of my comfort zone. אז מזכך את הנפש. Okay? Let's read the next part. אמנם בריאה, יצירה, בריאה והאצילות אין הדבר כן. In בריאה, יצירה, it's not the same thing. מי שיושב ברוחו במלכות של היצירה, whoever's root is in the malchut of יצירה, for example, ותיקן והשלים המדרגה, and he fixed the malchut. What does he have to do already? It's easy, malchut is the lowest level. כאשר יזדחך, when he will purify himself even more, ויתקן גם היסוד, and he will fix even the יסוד, it's not his neshama, he doesn't have to fix the יסוד. He's malchut. But let's say he did. אז יקבל גם רוח מן היסוד ליצירה ממש. He could change his neshama and he will also get a ruach from the yesod. In Asiya, once again, you don't do that. In Yetzirah, B'riyah, Atzilut, you could do that. והרוח הראשון אשר לא מהמלכות היצירה נשאר למטה במלכות היצירה כשם מקומו. What happens to your malchut? I was originally a malchut. What happens to that? It stays in its place. It doesn't go up. It stays there. That's where it belongs. וגם כשישלים גם ההוד היצירה, יניח גם את הרוח השני אשר לו מן היסוד ביסוד היצירה, ויקבל רוח אחד מן ההוד היצירה. And look at that, you could even get higher than the yesod of yitzira. You could fix the hod of yitzira and leave the yesod. That means, what's the higher sphera, hod or yesod? Hod is higher. But everyone's yelling, oh, yesod. Everyone's foundation, but the hod is still higher. Look at your body. Yesod is the foundation, but hod is, right? It's a leg. ודרך זה עד קטע ביצירה until you could reach you could reach you don't have to but you could until the keter of יצירה לפי שכיוון שתיקן את נפשו בכל מדרגות העשייה יש בו יכול לקבל רוח ממקור היצירה כולה כעניין בחינת נשמה שלא מבריאה. Here's the secret. How does a person jump in יצירה from, let's say, he was malchut and he was able to get also yesod? How does he do that? How does he have those powers in his soul? You know what's the secret? Since when he was a nefesh, he had to do that. You were a malchut and you had to go to keter. You had, because it's asiyah. When you go to the bia ruach, even though you don't have to fix only your shoresh, since you were able to fix so much, mitaken so much when you were a malchut in the nefesh, you're also able to do that in the ruach and shamach ha'echidah. What does that mean? More olam haba. More levels. More levels you could reach. Because you were able to do the nitty. When you have a foundation in the asiyah, the rest job is much easier. It's like a person who works so hard, lahavil, to get to be a partner in a law firm. After he's a partner, to get to senior partner is much easier. You're already a partner. Right? But to get to that the first step is the hardest. The asiyah is the hardest. One more paragraph and we'll call it enough. Because it deals with what we learned.
Asiyah because of klipa.
That's exactly what we're going to learn right now. Yeah. That's exactly what we're going to say. What's the reason why asiyah is so tough? The toughness is good because it prepares us for the rest of the levels.
A lot of people fell though.
They don't learn SHA'AR HAGILGULIM. לפי שהעשייה היא למטה בכל העולמות, in the hierarchy of the olamot, what's the lowest olam? עשייה. לכן היא נתונה בין הקהלי הסובבים אותה. The klipa is always surrounding עשייה, wanting to get a piece of it. לכן אף על פי שכבר אדם תיקן נפשו במקום שורשו אשר בעשייה, עם כל זה, אם יניחנה שם, יש פחד, אולי יתאחזו בהקהל יש שם. Even though let's say you're malchut of asiyah and you fixed your malchut, you can't leave it over there. Because the klipa wants to get you. You're going to fall right back. Therefore, you must reach the keter. Only when you reach a keter, you don't have any more fear of the klipa.
Keter of asiyah.
Yeah. לכן צריך שיזדחך מעשיו. How do you do that? How do you get to the keter? You have to purify your ma'asim. Not only not speaking in a Bet HaKnesset, adding more Torah, doing more mitzvot, breaking your animalistic, the animal, the behemah, is asiyah, is Shem Ben. That's the heart. But then, after that, then it's all smooth sailing. It's all smooth sailing from there. עד שיעלנו למעלה עד מה שיוכל עד מקום ששור בקטע העשייה until you reach the keter, as we said. אמנם היצירה, מכל שכן שאר העולמות שלמעלה ממנה, אין שום פחד באחיזת הקהל הישר בעולם העשייה. In יצירה and בריאה נציילות, it's very far from the kali. There's no fear. You don't have to fix all those shorashim. You can just fix yours. If you're gonna be very big tzaddik, you could get even more. That's why it says in Olam Haba that tzaddikim go from level to level. What are they going to level from? Their job is not done. They want more. They want more. They want more. They want to reveal Hashem more. They want to see the internal light of Hashem Yitbarach. לכן, כיוון שתיקן ברוחו בשורש הביצירה, הנה אם תתן יותר, אז יישאר רוחו הראשון שהמקום ששור ותקנה רוח שני יותר עליון מלמעלה. If you want, you could change your ruach. If you want, but you don't have to. Right? You don't have to. ואין צריך עוד רוחו הראשון למעלה כי אין שם פחד. You don't have to reach כתר of יצירה. You don't have to reach כתר of יצירה. Why? כי אין שם פחד. There is no pachad over there. What's pachad? Fear of the kali.
It's klipa for short.
It's good not to say those words.
Cauliflower.
טוב, ברוך ה' לעולם. אמן אמן. Remember, we're over here. זה סוד פסוק לא יישא אלוקים נפש.